Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast, your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast, episode 88, aptly titled "It's the Hope That Kills You," a phrase that I think we've seen running around on Twitter quite a little bit. There's been a few people suggesting the same things. There is still hope, although it is dwindling. And of course, now all hinges on an away trip to Peterborough. So, suppose there's not much left to say other than that, but let's get stuck into this evening's episode of the Fanzone Podcast, shall we? So, of course, Wanderers were at home at the Tough Sheet Community Stadium with a 2-0 victory against now relegated Port Vale. A relatively sturdy performance. I don't think it was anything that blew anyone away, but again, it wasn't anything to write home about, but we got the job done, and I think at this stage of the season, that's what's important. Of course, a very warm welcome to you all this evening. I can see you all coming into the chat, so thank you very much for joining us. It is always appreciated that you choose to spend your Sunday evenings with us, your home of, as David Wheaton mentioned in the intro, all things Bolton Wanderers. But Chris, we'll hand over to you first for your post-match reactions. Give us a little bit of an overview about the game and where your head's at. Obviously, it's looking likely that Wanderers will be heading into the playoffs. It's not confirmed, but it's certainly looking likely. So give us a rundown of where your head's at with Wanderers at the minute.
Cards on the table. I can't help but think that we are lulling everybody into a false sense of security, because the last few games have just been, that yesterday, apart from two moments of magic, Cameron Jerome scoring is always going to be magical, let's face it. Beautiful. Rose like a salmon at that back post, didn't he? 2 in 2. So his goal ratio has gone from 1 in 45 to 3 in 47 in 2 games, which is incredible. So absolute hats off to him. But we just, I don't know, we just kind of lolloping into the playoffs at the minute. I thought Port Vale were, considering their position, I thought they were dire. And that's being generous. Aaron Collins is God.
Someone else.
Let's face it. He's unbelievable. How anyone could have doubted him, probably me included, when he first came in. Like, why we paid 750 grand for this? And look at him now. He just looks like you can add a nought at the end of that, and he'd be worth every penny. He's just brilliant. But yeah, he was
steady on, but
yeah, no, you know what I mean. Yeah, you got to. Yeah. Told you a million times not to exaggerate. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really, really in a weird place at the minute with it all. I thought we'd be, really, really sort of energized going into the playoffs, and I just don't think we are. So are we going to just basically flick a switch and we'll be like, the team that battered Oxford, the team that battered Reading in the playoffs? Remains to be seen. But it's not over yet. And you look at the table, and there's that, 4-goal swing. But with best will in the world to be reliant on Carlisle getting a win at Pride Park on the last game of the season, no, I don't think so. So
it's certainly.
Does that answer your question?
It does, yes. It's think everyone is probably in a similar sort of boat. It is a lot to ask, isn't it, for Derby to lose to Carlisle and lose in pretty poor manner, all things considered. And obviously the poor performance, as we've spoke about, wasn't fantastic. What do you think? Uh, two questions. What do you think the reason for it is, and what do you think needs to change heading into the playoffs potentially?
I mean, Port Vale came and did what everybody else in League One does, and they came and they sat behind the ball. And I actually thought they were going to bring it to us because of how big of a game it was potentially for them. But once again, no, they didn't. We know we struggle a little bit playing against sides that play like that, sides that don't play particularly nice football. And it was a tough watch that first half. I think that for me, and Colin's just mentioned it actually. Welcome, Colin. He's in the chat. Hope you're feeling better, bud. He's just out of hospital, everyone.
Milking it.
We massively missed Rico in that back line. Chopping and changing of that back three. Although I felt it was slightly better combination yesterday than it was on Tuesday, but it's just unsettling, unnerves me a little bit when we're having to make those changes to that back three. I think that we potentially know that it's kind of out of our hands a bit. It's such a massive, I mean, it's football and anything can happen. We know that. That's why we love it. Our Coventry almost just beat Man United in the 9th minute or whatever it was. We know that anything can happen, but it's just whether people are saving themselves a little bit because they know the playoffs are coming, or I don't know. It could be anything. What was the other question? I forget.
You know.
How are you feeling about performances so far and what needs to change heading into the playoffs? You've basically answered it. And it does beg the question whether players are perhaps being a little bit more reserved, given the pretty rotten injury look we've had of late. Perhaps players are holding off a little bit and
certainly feels like
pick up injuries.
Georgie T seems to be just not getting as stuck in as he normally would, and I think he knows that card thing always plays in his mind a little bit. I think we've missed a couple of absolute sitters yesterday. But anyway, we also had Randall had a couple of decent goals, and people who don't normally score on the score sheet would be nice. Aaron Collins is just coming into form at the right time, though, and he's just sat. Like we'd said, and like I've said previously on the pod, give the lad a minute, let him settle in, it's hard work to kind of form them partnerships, know where everyone's going to be, and then he's absolutely, like Chris said, proving his weight in gold at the minute. What a star.
He absolutely is. I mean, we've said it a dozen times with a dozen players. You know, you click Kyle Dempsey, Victor Adebayo, all of the list goes on and on and on of players that have come in and just needed a little bit of time to find their feet. Mendes Gomez was another one who's had a really, really horrible start to life at the Wanderers. Running through a couple of comments in the chat, obviously mentioning Aaron Collins. Daniel enjoyed watching him yesterday, and Leslie has said, agreed with, there was that element of doubt on him at the start, but he's changed her mind completely. Daniel's also said that we still miss Santos, and Coles agreed with that. He said yesterday, once again, proved the importance of Rico and a fit Rico at that, something he hasn't been for a few weeks. Obviously, just coming back from injury and then picking up the niggle with I think it was his calf, and having to play with injections and whatnot. It's a huge miss at the back for Wanderers. And Brandon has said, I feel like we are sloppy at the moment. Bipolar FC at it again, which could be, that lack of stability at the back with Santos. So, obviously, new Ben, is joining us again this evening. So, thank you very much for jumping on with us. What are you feeling in the race for the playoffs, in terms of, you look at the teams that are perhaps sneaking in? There's one in there which I'm sure we all don't want, which is Blackpool. I'm sure we all would rather play anyone but them. But how are you feeling about the playoffs as a whole? What do you think our chances are? Obviously, third in the league, automatics probably should have been ours. But how are you feeling ahead of what's looking likely to be a playoffs end to the season?
You see, I mean, I know I am always quite optimistic, sometimes blindly optimistic, but I'm a lot more confident than it seems like most of us are. I just think our last 3 home games, even though we've somehow drawn 2 of them when we shouldn't have done, it's given me loads of confidence that whoever we can play at home, we can go out and dominate and create loads of chances. It's just about sticking them away. And whoever we get at home, I think we can beat and beat comfortably. It's that away leg. As you say with Blackpool, they're the one team I really don't want to get because they've hit form at the right time and the defenses have been brilliant. I think before yesterday, they've conceded 1 or 0 in like 15 games straight, something like that. I think they'd only conceded 3 in 9 games, something like that. I wouldn't fancy going to Blackpool next, Friday evening and trying to grind out a result. Whereas I think if we went to Oxford, if we went to Barnsley, if we went to Lincoln, I mean, I know we've not played Lincoln since they've had Skabala in, so we don't really know what to expect from them. But I'd be pretty confident with all of them. But yeah, Blackpool's the one. But yeah, I just think with if we were going into the playoffs after sort of February, March, it'd be a bit like that. But I think we've actually been really good in April, even though we've not picked up maximum points. I think our performances have been back at it. And I mean, again, yesterday we had 70% possession, 27 shots, only conceded like 8 or 9, something like that. They didn't really have many big chances. It was just because we waited till 75th minute to score. I think we had quite a few good chances in the first half, even though we weren't at our best. That was the comical one where Charles and Collins both hit the post somehow. I think Goma had a decent chance. And even though it was quite slow in the first half, we still were a better team and they didn't look threatening at all. What Anne said, I thought they'd come and try and come us a bit more. It's like they didn't know they had to win to stay up. It was a bit...
It wasn't it?
That's exactly what I said.
They waited until the last sort of 20 minutes to even try and attack. But I guess maybe that was the game plan, try and stay in the game 70 minutes and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, if you just let us have the ball all game, we're gonna create chances. You can't rely on us just, playing like that. But yeah, no, I'm quite confident. Obviously, we'll see what happens at Posh. Look, if we repeat what we did last season, and if Carlisle do us a favour, who have beaten 2 of the top 4 teams away from home this season, let's not forget. One of them all was. We won't forget that. And then Peterborough a couple of weeks ago. So, stranger things can happen. Oh, I'm pretty resigned to the playoffs, but yeah. Miracles do happen, as someone who's just put in the chat. Yeah.
They do. And it's one of them, isn't it, with Carlisle? Like, they've actually got nothing to lose, so they can play with as much freedom as they want. And stranger things have happened where when it's all of the pressure is on Derby, and they can easily not everyone can handle that pressure, can they? So it's not.
Yeah.
It's just a tough ask, innit? But the stars might align. You never know.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's 11v11, isn't it? Like, and they think they've won 3 out of the last 6 away games. So, yeah, as you say, they've got nothing to play for. They'll go out and try and win and see what happens.
Absolutely. There's certainly a lot on the line for both teams in terms of Wanderers and Derby. Obviously, Derby won't be wanting to give up their automatic promotion spot after it seems like it has been in their hands for what feels like a forever and a day. It doesn't feel like that long ago it feels like a while ago now we were saying, oh, we've got games in hands and now all we have to do is win them and that's the job done. But hasn't all panned out that way.
Don't know what's going on. We don't know what's happening. He's back.
We're having a
we're all on about it then.
Wrong place. Switch me.
Right, hang on.
Now you've got to switch you all around. There we are.
That's better.
Just to dive back into the chat though, everyone more or less agreeing that nobody wants Blackpool in the playoffs. However, David has said that no team will want to play us, which I think is a great point. We've got a great there's been some great performances this season where we've really blew teams away, and I think everyone in the league will be cautious of that. Even when Portsmouth came to our place, their manager said they had a game plan that they needed to play to not lose, and that's what happened.
I mean, just to interrupt, as you say, no one want to play us. We've played all the playoff teams, including Blackpool. I know Stevenage are out of it now, including Blackpool and Lincoln, who is just outside at the minute, and Oxford. And we've only lost once all season. It's that Blackpool away game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no one will want to play us. They've all played us this season and gone, oh, God, they're pretty good. So, yeah, we're the team everyone wants to avoid.
Who does everyone want? Do you know what? Can we put just for the semis? Can everyone put who they would prefer? I mean, we don't want any of it, do we? But
I want Barnsley.
Stick it in the chat who you would prefer to play in the semis, because I think at Wembley we'd take anyone. But I think I want Oxford. I think I want Oxford.
Yeah. After what we did to them at home and how poor they looked.
It's still fresh. It's got to be still fresh in the mind. They have turned it around, some fair play.
Yeah.
Apart from yesterday. But they did seem to react very well to what was an absolute slapping. Credit to them for that. However, it's still recent. It's got to be.
It does throw up the question though. Would that play into the hands of Oxford, knowing that they got absolutely humiliated the last time around and wanting to make a difference, and perhaps our lads being a little bit complacent?
No.
Yeah. No. I think I'd rather Barnsley. They fell apart since we drew to them. They've been awful, really. And I've seen loads of their fans on Twitter. I know Twitter's Twitter. Loads of fans on Twitter wanting Collins out. After every game, I keep looking under the posts, and it's all
there's been a lot of
negativity around playoffs to rescue it.
I saw some negativity around Luke O'Connell.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But saying that, I'm sure that Barnsley fans would have a field day if they went and had a look at our Twitter. Let's face it.
True. Yeah.
You can spin
exactly.
it.
Twitter, isn't it?
You can spin it so many different ways, like the Oxford scenario that we've just walked through there. There's so many. When it comes to the playoffs, I think you can pretty much park everything that's happened before. You go in there, it's a knockout.
Cup finals, everyone's a cup final.
Yeah, it's it is a lottery, but I think without sort of jinxing it, if we do get to Wembley, then I'd fancy us against anybody.
Yeah,
genuinely. But
what I will say, I think if we finish third or fourth, which we will if we're in the playoffs, I think having the second leg at home is massive. Because I felt like last year I think we played okay against Barnsley in the home leg, but it felt a bit like everyone was holding back because there was still that second game.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a not half-hearted performance, but it wasn't like full throttle. Whereas, we'll go to the away leg, whatever happens, we'll come back knowing that we can turn up and beat anyone. And it'll be it will be full throttle that second game. And I think, and our home record speaks for itself. We've got the best home record in the league. So
absolutely. So back to Port Vale. Ange, we will hand over to you for your Fanzone man of the match.
Okay, ladies and gents. So possibly a couple of contenders, I would think, for this week's man of the match. Pop your votes in the chat. If you'd like to elaborate, as always, feel free. And we'll go around the panel and see what we're thinking from yesterday. Let's start with you, Ben.
I think a bit of a difficult one because I don't think there was many standout performances. But I think the obvious one is Collins, isn't it? He just gives us something completely different where he'll just pick up the ball and try and go past someone and score, and that's what he did yesterday. Even in the first minute yesterday, he got the ball and just struck it from outside the box, which it's been drilled into basically our whole team to not shoot from 25 yards out. And play around. Sometimes you do just need someone to hit one to try and catch the keeper off guard or something like that. And yeah, he just brings something completely different to what we've got. And I think for the first time since we've come up in League One, maybe since Dapo, to be honest, we've got a proper superstar attacker who is probably in the top 5 attackers in the league. I think almost definitely. I think Charles is on borderline, but yeah, I think Dapo's nearly there. But yeah, I think Collins is properly. He can do nothing for a game, and you give him the ball, and he'll just turn nothing to something.
Do you just say Dapo?
Yeah, someone said in the chat. Yeah, I was saying since Dapo, he's kind of.
Oh, since Dapo. Sorry, that was a key word that I missed. Sorry. Right. Hang on a minute.
Yeah. I think Dapo.
Where am I?
You can just give it him and see what happens. Yeah. Magoma's a bit like that as well. But yeah, and shout out to Magoma because he was by far our best player on Tuesday night. And we didn't do the poll on Wednesday, but he just absolutely ran the show Tuesday night. More so because no one else looked really bothered of doing anything. But yeah, he was excellent. And he's been maybe our best player over the last 2 or 3 months, I think, Magoma. I think if you could have second player of the season, he would be our second half player of the season. And yeah. But yeah, I'll go Collins. Because that goal the ability to just do that and change the game.
What a goal.
Can you imagine that in a playoffs? We're nil after 50 minutes, a tough game, and he just picks the ball up and bends it top corner. Like, it's priceless, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'll give it Collins.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Chris.
I was going to echo what Ben said, but something's just come into my mind which has kind of influenced my decision. And I'm going to give my man of the match to Paris Magoma.
Yeah.
I thought his performance was exceptional. He gets better game by game. I think in the playoffs, if we get in the playoffs and we don't go up automatically, of course, I think that Aaron Collins and Paris Magoma are the 2 players who could be the most influential in winning those big games. But the reason why I'm giving it to Paris is a direct suit off last night at the player of the season. Aaron's suit was very smart. He had a lovely suit, great cut, nice cut-off collar. I always like a cut-off collar. I like that a lot. However, Paris's suit last night was unbelievable. The kid is
smart, James Bond, didn't it?
He's so cool, man.
Proper cool.
He's got it all going on. So for the suit and his performance, Paris Magoma, unbelievable.
Excellent shout, Chris. Benji, who are you going with?
If we're using the end of season awards to justify our man of the match, now I've got to give it to Jack Iredale just because he got on that.
Spinning
360 camera with us. I'm just gonna what Ben said. Aaron Collins, just wow. There's not enough superlatives to describe him. Fantastic, absolutely brilliant. What a player. And I can see myself next season saying the same thing a lot when it gets to the Fanzone Man of the Match segment. And I can imagine he will be pretty similar to Josh Sheehan this season, where it's who's your man of the match? Oh, it's Aaron Collins again.
Yeah, you can't see it, can't you?
So if we just going down the chat, most people have gone with Aaron Collins. A couple of shouts in there for Paris. I think it was Colin who went with Baxter. A couple of really good saves. A shout for Caleb Taylor. Someone who I thought had a really good game and hasn't been mentioned at all was Randall. So I was worried when Better whatever happened in the warm-up. I don't know, I missed it, but do we know what happened with Better before?
It's his hip or his thigh, I believe. I think it's his thigh. It's bruising there.
So yeah, I was a bit worried when it was announced that there'd been a change just before kick-off. But I thought Randall played really well yesterday. He had a great shot which bounced off the back crossbar.
Fuck you that.
Yeah, Magoma. Gethin, Chloe Pomfret. Sorry, I missed your shout.
Yeah, it was a good shout as well. That
Yeah.
I think we needed him in that back three yesterday, just for a little bit of maturity and experience. I think. Do you know what I think it was on Tuesday when Owen has the armband? I think he needs to be left to play. I think sometimes it might distract him a little bit. So I was glad to see Geth back and with the armband. But I, as everybody else, well, as most people, have gone with Aaron Collins for me, because the boy is a joy to watch. And that he scored some belters, hasn't he? They've not even been like, I mean, there was one off his ass at one point, weren't there? But they've not even been
tappings, does he?
They've been screamers. All of them have been amazing. So
and obviously he's goal of the season, and he's only been here 5 minutes. And he
could have been a contender yesterday,
Yeah, exactly. He could have shut it in, no problem. Yeah, no, agreed.
So there you have it, folks. This week's or this episode's man of the match is Aaron Collins.
Well done, Aaron.
Absolutely. Just before we move through the next couple of segments, we would like to, of course, give a huge shout out to our headline sponsors for the 2023-24 season, which is, of course, Eco Warm Windows, which you can see over there.
With the new branding.
I was going to say, is that rebranding I see?
Yeah.
It is indeed. If you want to go and find out about our headline sponsors, and if you want to go and find out about their very fresh looking rebrand, then if you head over to our website, www.thefanzonepod.co.uk, you can find out everything you need to over there. And a massive shout out to, of course, all of our wonderful sponsors. We couldn't do it without you, as Chris said.
Yeah, they did win an award as well this week. They did win a Bolton's Best in Bolton. Chris, what was it? Best in Bolton for windows and doors or something, I think.
No, you haven't. You heard it here first.
Bolton's award windows and doors, or award-winning windows and doors, maybe.
Yes.
Only the best.
They've won an award anyway. They're good at what they do. So you need to know. So yes, a huge shout out to all of our sponsors. And if you want to find out any more about them, then head over to our website. You can do exactly that. But now we will move through to a little bit of a fan favourite. It's of course our resident stat man with Get a Stat On.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Fanzone Podcast, and it is actually the podcast this time. If you don't know what I mean, follow us on Twitter. We'll explain a lot more than what I can be bothered to do, to be quite honest. But basically, there was no podcast last time, as I'm sure you're aware. Get well soon, Cole. I believe he is on the mend. But yeah, so it was still my preview on Twitter, but there wasn't an actual podcast. But we are back today, of course, because you're watching the podcast. What am I saying? Let's just move on. Hey, playing Peterborough. I'm actually playing tonight. No, they're not. They're not playing tonight. I'm lying. Playing Tuesday. Don't know why I said tonight. So you have got a rest on them. And you're playing Saturday at 12:30, I believe, if I remember correctly. It's a big game. It's a very big game, as I always say. But yeah, this is a big game because it could decide who is top of the playoffs. I mean, it should be you, unless you get hammered. And that would be a serious confidence blow. But yeah, it's more about confidence this game than points, to be anything. If you beat them, then that's mega, because this could be the playoff final, definitely. But anyway, I mean, I'm sure you know about them, but they've scored 86 goals from 83 XG. That is quite good. They have actually just played at Wembley and won a trophy as well, so that is also pretty mega. 2 goals a game, which is the most in the league. I mean, 2. Yeah, that's quite good. You're going to have to be good defensively, which is probably why Santos wasn't missed the other day. But they do concede 1.3 a game, saying that, so, you know, goes either way. They've got the most possession in league per match, which is actually quite interesting, because I thought it'd be you, but it's not. It's them with 60. So yeah, that is loads. Here is graph just to show that. I know I'm leaning a bit this way, but maybe there's something behind me that I can't show. Yeah, so here's the graph. You can see how much they like to hold the ball, basically, even more than you do. I mean, they will still go direct, because you can kind of see that. But yeah, they love to have the ball, basically. 136 build-up attacks, which is loads. That's the whole season. But they're first by 50, and you're second. So, you know, they're going to have the ball, basically. But saying that, despite most teams doing it, they're not going to press too much from the stats. I've not watched the game. My bad. But, yeah, they're not going to press through it. From the stats, it looks like they sit off in a bit of a mid-block, because the PPDA, passes per defensive action, isn't that great. They do like to cross, and they even like a long ball when it's on. So, you know, they're a very well-rounded team. They just need to keep out a few more goals, and they'll be absolutely laughing. My personal favourite player for these, I know, disgraceful, how dare I, is Ronnie Edwards, because he is a cracking centre-half, proper modern CB, very composed, very good on the ball. He should be playing in the Championship, if not even a little bit higher next season. Yeah, he is mint. But they've got a lot of good players, I'm sure you're aware. Harrison Burrows, I mean, he scored in the final, didn't he? I mean, one of them was a bit fluky, but yeah. But yeah, they're just a very good team, and this will be a very good game. So enjoy the rest of the podcast, the actual podcast this time, and goodbye.
A wonderful preview, as always, from our resident statman, Callum. If you want to go and check out Callum, his Twitter handle is @WanderingRed7. He does all sorts of writing for all sorts of different, you know, football news, whatever they're called.
Publications.
That's the one. He's out and about. He does loads. So go and have a look. He's a very, very talented young lad. Very good at what he does. And
I have a question, Callum. Callum, what were you hiding with your box?
Yeah.
Oh,
Colin, you
what was the
played
logo
right
doing there?
He's on. I've seen him in the chat.
Also some questions on Callum's haircut, but you know we won't touch on them.
For those who wanted to know what products I use on my hair, I use in fact I use this. There's currently a 10% offer at the moment, and it's called Be Bald. And that's going to get this beautiful sheen on my scalp. There you go.
If you ever see Chris out and about at the games, if you ever see him at an away game, with consent, of course, just go and give his head a little stroke. He's go and give it a. He's like a genie. You pat
look
it.
For rub.
It
do you like?
Yeah.
Rub for look, like a Buddha type thing.
I don't use hair removal cream, like Veet or something like that. Imagine it'd be extremely painful, but there you go.
But it is extremely smooth. So go and give him a pat on the head. Right, Chris. Speaking of the devil, we will hand over to you for your Fanzone fan focus.
Hiya. Bit of a quiet one. I think everybody's a bit subdued, obviously, going into the playoffs and resigned to the fact that probably we should have gone up automatically and we haven't. But what can you do? But the theme, all very, very similar. And I guess it's all about where do we go from here? So our first point, which actually breaks out into 3 points, believe it or not, comes from Mark, but also similar points from Pete, Edge, and Leslie. And the first point is, and we've already spoken about it earlier in the pod with magnificent Aaron Collins. And the point is, with Collins flying, and brace yourself for this, would you be worried, concerned, angry, whatever it may be, if Dion was sold in the summer. So,
I
hang on. Let's throw it
go
over
on.
to you, Ben, because he's dying to answer that. Ben.
I mean, I think it all depends how much we get and where the money goes, to be honest. Because I've seen a lot of people say if Charles goes and that funds getting Magoma back, then it won't be the worst idea. But I don't know. It don't really sit around with me in a minute. He's just been out injured for 2 months, and everyone's been dying for him to come back. And now he's played 100 minutes and not scored, and looks a bit off the pace, which he would do after a few months out injured. And people want him to go, but yeah, no. Unless we get a stupid offer in the summer and he wants to go, I think he's here to stay.
Can I just I'll move around the windows, but we had a conversation in the ground to this effect yesterday about Dion, and it came to the point of he's trying to re-establish form prior to his injury, but then when you saw the goal, there was a goal montage that was shown on the screens, and it was also shown at the awards night, and it showed his goal at Fleetwood, and that was his last league goal. And you cast your mind back, that was between Christmas and New Year.
29th of December, wasn't it? Something like that.
Perfect. Thanks, Ange. Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. I remember being stood on that corner with a sneaky can of dark fruits because there were no pub. And it seems like a lifetime ago. But there's been obviously a drop in form and then the injury. But let's not, whatever we do, lose sight of what Dion is capable of and what he brings to the table. I think we need to get that clear in our minds, I think.
I mean, he's still top goal scorer, isn't he? So it says enough about him that he's had half a season and he's still top goal scorer.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just get my 2 pennies in and out of the way and I'll move around. But I think potentially that AC/DC partnership, as it's been penned, is potentially fire. It really, really is. Because of the way that Dion times the press and his relentless press, and the fact that Aaron Collins can drop off and support and be that player who creates, and I mean, 20 goal involvements in 2 seasons consecutively tells you that without question. So let's not get too carried away about the fact that he's not scored since Fleetwood. He's been injured. He's had personal matters that have sort of come to the surface, etc. He's a phenomenal goal scorer for Bolton Wanderers. Ange, what are your thoughts on that question about Dion? Should we sell him, or what would your thoughts be if he was sold in the summer?
Couple of thoughts I have.
Yeah.
So as we know, everybody has a price.
Yeah.
So like Ben said, if the money is right, but if that money is right and we then lose or don't continue to have Jon and Cameron Jerome, then we're really short on that striker front. So if that money goes towards depending where we are, proven goal scorer.
Yeah, sorry. No, you're out of what that was. Gremlin. Then
I'm for it. But we all know, and we've all said this, that too much has fallen to Dion this season. It's all been on his shoulders. He's been the only one really with any sort of proven goal scoring for us. So I personally would not want to see him go unless the money is right and we've got someone lined up to replace him, because Aaron then cannot do it all on his own.
Yep.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm very much in a similar boat to that. Everyone's got a price. You know, we're League One footballers, there is absolutely no one that is irreplaceable. Dion is a fantastic player, and we are very, very fortunate to have him. And I think he gets into every single League One side. However, everyone's got a price. We're a football club, we're a business, and operating under a pretty strict business model. So, you know, there's things there that. There's things that Dion offer that are way above the level I think we could ever have imagined he would have offered coming when he signed from Stanley. But you know, he's a fantastic footballer, and the system that we've got is heavily dependent on that press from the front, and he offers that in abundance. Would I like to get rid of him? Absolutely not. You know, you look at his goal contributions over the time that he's been with us.
Sorry, Ben. Can I just David asked, mystified by this Dion talk. Where is all this sell Dion come from? It hasn't. Is the answer? I think the overwhelming feedback from all of us has been positive towards Dion, and we all love Dion. Well, I do anyway.
Absolutely.
Are we just debating a question that's been asked on Fanzone, isn't it? That's what we're here for, isn't it?
We're assessing all possible options, and as Colin said, it's just a question that's been brought up online, and we're not, we're not hesitant to pick up on hot topics like this. To be honest with you, debate them and have a sensible conversation about them. It's a strange one. But I think it marks the progress that this club is making. That's even being debated.
Absolutely. That was my exact point. That when you're looking at players like Dion, and it's even up for debate whether he could be sold. You're talking about a player that we signed for what was it? What was the price that we signed him for? Does anyone know?
£325,000.
We signed a player for 325 grand, and now it's a conversation of how much would we get for him if we were to sell him, and that's a real benchmark in Evert's tenure and the board and Chris Markham. That's a real statement to say this is how far we've come.
If he went on a free, let me play devil's avocado. If he went on a free, now we have made a profit on that investment already.
Yeah. And also, Matt's joined us again from the Derby fella, and he said they'd have him.
All right, Matt.
Welcome back.
He's certainly a little bit younger than Dwight Gale, similar sort of haircut, but he's got a few years on him. But Matt, thank you very much for joining us. It's
always welcome.
Unfamiliar territory, I think, for us having opposition fans tune in, and not for the first week. You're back again, and we noticed that. So thank you very much.
Nice,
but yeah, it's Huawei.
I think more than anything, it kind of shows us the fast nature of football, doesn't it? Because
of course he does.
Literally, how long ago was it that we were saying, "Oh, I'm not sure about Collins," or something, and now he's our best player. Charles scores next week against Peterborough, and then scores in the playoffs, and all of a sudden he's our best player again. Yeah. So
we're a fickle group. We are
indeed.
Not all,
we're all the same. Yeah.
To New Ben's point, and I think it's a really good point that if you can get that return and get that profit back on him, and it goes towards signing Paris, is that such a bad thing? I don't think it is.
I know Colin said he put in the chat before why we're still bringing up Dapo, but Dapo was the perfect example of it. We picked him up on a free. He did brilliantly for us, and then was in and out the team, and we managed to. The figure was never final, was it? But above $500,000.
About $500,000 or something, I think.
Yeah.
We got that from a guy we picked up for free 18 months before, and it wasn't a popular decision at the time. But look at us, we've progressed and moved on past it. There was a time a couple of years ago where a team without Dapo would have been unthinkable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just one. I can't move past this just yet. There's one final thing
here, go on.
In terms of the Dion thing as well. One more reason where you're perhaps looking at him and thinking, no, he has to stay. If we're to get promoted, even if we were to stay in this division, you look at the strikers that we've got currently at the club. Jon, I don't think we will see again, unfortunately. I think that this season will be his final one for us. Cameron Jerome, I would be very surprised if he is putting his boots on and getting ready for a match next
Over there
season.
to take a walk. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd be very surprised to see him feature in the squad next season. And then you look at the other players we've got. So Mendes Gomez, who can play up there, has had a really stop-start life at Bolton so far. He's not had time to properly settle in and bed in. He's constantly been out of the team, in and out of the team. Danham Lunderloo is the same. You know, he just started on that upward trajectory, and then it was cut out and pushed back onto the bench and into rehab to get his injury sorted. Victor Adebayo was pretty similar. You know, he just started finding his feet and was looking to be that consistent goal scorer. He's been put out through injury and he's had a bit of a stop-start time with injuries. There isn't any striker in the squad currently, apart from Dion, that's been here for long enough, knows what we do, and can come out from injury and slot back in relatively seamlessly.
Yeah.
So if you were to get rid of Dion, that leaves no striker that's been in and around the club for a long time that knows us inside out. And I think that's one more reason and one more thing that Dion offers that no one else does.
Yeah, for 2 years now, it's been the strike partnership has been Dion plus one other, and the other has been up for debate for 2 seasons, but Charles has never been. So yeah, good point. Yeah, you're right.
To summarise that, Chris Burton mentioned it earlier. Over 40 goals in 3 seasons for Bolton. Yeah. So let's not lose sight of that. And just for clarity, we don't want to sell Dion Charles. Thank you very much. Our next point is the subject of loan players. And I think you probably know where this one's going and about falling in love with them. James Trafford, Connor Bradley, Marlon Fossey. The list goes on and on and on. So currently we have 5 players with us on loan. And the question is, who do we keep or who do we aim to sign permanently? So the 5 in question are Calvin Ramsey from Liverpool, which I guess, yeah, exactly. For whatever reason, it's not worked. He's obviously he's had injury. Liverpool paid £6 million for him. But yeah, blah blah blah. Caleb Taylor, Nathaniel Ogbeta, Zachary Ashworth, and of course, player of the season. I'm sorry, but justice for George. Paris Magoma. So, from those 5, who do we keep or who do we aim to sign?
Yeah, I think all of that depends on what league we're in.
Yeah.
All of it.
All right, let
I have the favourites.
Let's look at best case scenario.
Well, everyone's favourite's Paris, isn't it? We no matter what division we're in, we want Paris back, and that's the only one I think that is an actual nailed on.
Right.
No, whatever
Paris
happens, I want to see Paris Magoma next season.
Yeah. So we go up. We're in the Championship. Which of those 5? So we're going obviously Paris.
Yeah. I'd like us to get out better.
I love him. I think he's grown so much.
Yeah, I think he has. And he's still pretty young. He's still 23. And he's out contracting the summer. We won't have to pay anything for him. Yeah. I think it's basically a no. Like it's been, it's
kind of throw a spanner in the works. So new Ben, that potentially it has been rumoured that if we do go up into the Championship, that the way that we play will change, i.e., we won't play necessarily with wing backs.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I obviously, yeah. If that happens, yeah, we don't know. If we stick with wing backs, I think definitely or better because, I think he's just a typical a typical Everton Markham signing over the last couple of years. He's basically Declan John from a few years ago, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's the guy who was rated amazingly 2 years ago in League One. He's been moving to the Championship and has not really played. And you know, we've got him kind of on the way down, and he probably is a Championship player. And we've got the opportunity to pick him up on a free in the summer. I think I would with Ogbetter. Yeah. Obviously, if we do switch to a back four, then I'm not sure I love him at left back. But we don't know what. Yeah, we don't know what's going on in Everton's mind about that. Ashworth, I've liked him played. Yeah, it's a strange one because
Alex mentions it here, Ben, that Ashworth was good until and it's like, hang on a minute.
I think he's kind of just I think he's been good when he played, but I think the last 4 or 5 months have shown Ever just prefers Ogbetter. So, and then
I think he has been set back with injury though, Ashworth as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has.
He's never particularly done anything wrong. He's always had a good show, hasn't he?
Yeah. Exactly, and that's the problem with this team, that when you are out injured, players can come in and take your spot, and it's really, really tough to come back in. We said it when Geth was out, and we said, was it Dacres Cogley was out and Geth was at right wing back? It was like, Cogley had been amazing for so long, and it was like, well, Geth's putting in a shift. Does he come back in? And there's been constant question marks over who comes back. At the start of the season, you probably wouldn't have said that George Thomason would have been ahead of Morley and Dempsey for 90% of the season. It's like, it's so hard to get your spot back in this team.
Like I said, things change so quickly in football. You can be out the team for a couple of games through no fault of your own, and you lose your spot, and your replacement plays brilliantly, and that's it. Ramsey, it's just a strange one, Ramsey, because he came in just as backup, really, or as competition, and has basically been injured or not. Not fit enough to play. Basically, I mean, it helps that Dacres Cogley is, like he did for Tranmere last year, played basically every minute he's been available for. His fitness is unbelievable. I don't know how he's done it. But Ramsey's he's not been in the squad quite a few times as well. I don't know if there's been injury concerns or whatever, but I think Ramsey's one. I was saying this with you, Chris, on before the Portsmouth one. He seems like Owen Beck, where he's he just doesn't. He's obviously a good player. He's a good player for the level. He's just not worked out, and he'll probably go somewhere else and smash it. And then Callum's mentioned in the attack, Caleb Taylor. I was really happy when we got him because he was really good at Cheltenham last year. Obviously, he just came in as like a emergency Rico backup, didn't he? And he's, whenever he's played, I think he's done pretty well. I think he was decent yesterday again.
Yeah.
Again, he's 22, 23, but I think West Brom would want to keep him. Depends if they go up. If they go up, maybe not. He's obviously someone happy to not start every game, as Callum said. I'd be interested to see him, but I think definitely Magoma, obviously. Yeah. Then I'd go up to, and then Ashworth and Taylor, maybe. Yeah.
Ange, you in agreement with that?
Definitely Paris. Definitely Ogbetter. Yeah. I like Ashworth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But is he? I don't know. Like you said, if he's injury prone, if he's, I don't know. He just doesn't seem to get the nod, does he?
No.
I know Callum loves Taylor. I'm still a little bit unsure on him, but I'm not sure if that's just a time thing. Like, he keeps getting chucked in that back three just when Santos is out or whatever, and he's just not. Sometimes he looks a bit lost, and he doesn't particularly do anything wrong. He probably just needs some time because there's a player in there.
He's played a different back three as well, hasn't he? And it's been an injury-stricken back three. Like last again yesterday, that's another new back three we played this season. I think it's about the 15th different back three we played. You just keep, you're right, you just get chucked in, doesn't he? And deal with it.
So there's definitely a player in there. It's whether he's a player for us. When you got Georgie Johnson back, etc. And I miss him.
George Johnson. Oh my God, we missed him.
But Ramsey's a no for me. It's just not, like you said, it's the Beck situation again, isn't it? Where he's definitely a talented lad. It's just not right. It's just not a right fit.
Yeah. And well-established, Ben. Your thoughts?
More or less the same as that. I think the only one I'm in contention with is Caleb Taylor. I think for us next season, he could definitely. I think if you look at the players that we've seen over the years, there is no one in my mind that can do what Santos does. And I think Caleb Taylor is the only one that strikes me as the type of player that could become what Santos is. I think Toley is too good on the outside of the three to do that. I think he can
I
fill
think
in.
Toll
But
struggled
in
quite
terms of
on Tuesday.
Yeah,
in terms
he
of
needs to be on the outside, definitely.
in terms of direct competition for Santos, I think Caleb Taylor is the only one that can. And let's face it, he's absolutely massive.
He's giant. He's an
It helps,
actual
doesn't it?
giant.
Magnunius.
So yeah, I'd definitely like to see Caleb Taylor back. A lot of it will hinge on what's his playing time expectations, because he's not going to want to sit and bench warm all season.
No.
He's going to be wanting to play games, because he was like that at Cheltenham, and he earned a move to Wanderers, albeit in pretty tight circumstances. But yeah, but Paris are better. I think are definites. Calvin, unfortunately, I don't think will make it back. And Ashworth, echo what you've all already said.
I think you need to look at it from the perspective of what salaries they'll demand as well, and would whilst you like them as players, from the business side of things.
Oh yeah, it's so much
You've
more that we
also
don't
got
know.
to weigh up as well. How many loan players can we afford to bring in that one might just sit on the bench and be competition?
Yeah.
If we're playing in the Championship, you're looking at Premier League squads and saying, if you want to bring them down for a season, we'll take them. There's going to be some real talent that we could probably bring in.
Yeah.
You don't want to use your loan spaces on, squad fillers.
Yeah, it's a more. I mean, it's. We've seen how attractive it's been for young Premier League players to come in on loan, and that's in League One. So, what would it look like if we're a league higher? Obviously, it becomes an even more compelling place to send your loan players, doesn't it? Really. So it's interesting. It's a good point, and thank you for raising that, Mark. Peter and Leslie. And a final point, well, it isn't one for debate, it's a comment, and it comes from Leslie again. And she bumped into Alex Murphy yesterday, friend of the show, who said that he loved being on the podcast. And he said that he would come back on anytime we'd have him. And I just wanted to say, Alex, if you are listening / watching, it was a pleasure to have you. Tomorrow morning, Alex will be doing a 5K run at a very leisurely pace. So you're around. He'll be outside the club shop at the ground at 10 o'clock. So if you want to go on a 5K run, the weather's lovely. It's his last run before his fight, which is next Saturday, as we previously told you. So,
damn it, I'm at work.
You're at work, and so am I, unfortunately. And you know what? Yeah, I'd have been all over that.
You actually would, though. You're doing a 10K, aren't you, Chris?
Yeah. So as you can see over my left shoulder, that is my number. I will be doing the 10K for Bolton Wanderers in the community next Sunday.
That means you can't get leathered at Peterborough.
I will. I will be doing it at a very, very leisurely pace. I'll have you know. So, but it's all about raising money. So, yeah, there you go. I'll pop a link up, and if you could, I'm not pushing it too hard because obviously we've just done the tough sleep, and I know that time, it's difficult to splash money on donations and stuff like that. But if you can spare anything, mega. It does go to Bolton Wanderers in the community. So I will put a link in and do what you can. It'd be mega. That's me. Thanks for listening.
Indeed, thanks for listening to Chris's Fanzone Fan Focus, and thanks for listening to yet another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Your support this season has been unwavering, and it has been unbelievably appreciated. It has gone from strength to strength. and to see all of you familiar faces in the chat every episode is unbelievable. So yeah, I mean, next podcast Sunday, fate will be decided. You will either have one very, very happy all guns blazing podcast, or there'll be another 3 podcasts to come that could be very, very nervy.
I'm running out of shirts.
So-
I'm trying to wear a different shirt every episode, and I'm running out.
So
So if we're
we
going to
will be back
also,
with
then I
you
don't have to
soon.
worry about my shirt. That'd be great.
Yeah, sorted out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks very much for watching. Not only now, but throughout the season.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much, and we will catch you post Peterborough, where we will find out what happens. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and we
Yeah.
will see you all in the next one. Take care.
Call me back.
Bye.
You will indeed.
Bye bye.